All right, guys. So yeah, this is your forum. This is for those of you who haven't joined us for these live chats on Friday. We're going to go in and talk about the questions that have been asked in the inner circle over the last week. But if there are any questions that you guys are like actively dealing with in your business that you want to ask us, this is your opportunity to do so. So 100% jump in, post the questions in the comments, and we will answer those as we go about the live stream here.
Yeah, super excited to chat with you guys. I think this is my favorite part of the week when we can just sit down, have a little fireside chat here with David and myself, and as well as everybody in the community. We've had a lot of great one-on-one conversations with you guys throughout the week, new students getting kicked off. Lots of great activity happening. We're seeing people get new students, new clients, new meetings. It's been extremely awesome to see you guys and your success so early in the program. So hit us with any questions down below. Otherwise, we'll just kind of rattle through what came in through the week.
One thing I just wanted to mention, guys, is this group is for your benefit. Like, this group exists because, and there's a reason why we do this. It's not just to jump on and answer these questions. Like, this is an opportunity for you guys to be accountable to yourself as well as peers going through the exact same things that you're going through. So like, you guys will notice there's been a lot of people who have been having a lot of very big success lately. And it's directly correlated to them actively posting in the group their goals, what they're working on, all that stuff. So post what you're working on, post the wins, post the losses, post the questions in the group throughout the week, and use that as an accountability thing. Tell your friends, tell your family, share and tag us on Instagram and say, hey, this is what I'm working on. And, that accountability and kind of putting that out there is going to help you be that much more successful. Like, there's nothing more motivating than telling all your friends that you're going to do something and then actually going out and doing it. It's just like getting in shape. Like, if you say, hey, I'm going to start hitting the gym, and you tell all your friends, you're that much more likely to continue going to the gym all the time, because you kind of drew that line in the sand and you told people that what you're working on and what your goals are. So use this group, as a catalyst to, achieve that growth, and, look at the people that have been having the most success lately, and they're the people that are really leveraging the inner circle.
Hell yeah. Speaking about putting things out there into existence, David and I have had some pretty awesome success ourselves in the last week. Last night had a really great pitch. I actually tried to record the whole thing, but it got messed up. So I'll probably walk through my proposal, like what I did for you guys, but pitched a deal to where we're getting at least a minimum $3,000 per month retainer, with a total of all-in investment of about $7,000. Just getting things kicked off, and 90-day agreement, POC kind of a deal. With a huge business here is actually in Texas, Southeast Texas. They really do most of their stuff. So super excited about that. I'm going to get a final decision on that by Monday. And David just had an awesome call with another really awesome company, great retainer. Maybe share a little bit about that, just since we're in the spirit of sharing the wins here.
Yeah, totally. And I think, for the deal that you brought in, Derek, as well, I think that it would be beneficial to talk through how we priced that, and how we kind of leveraged all the different moving parts, especially because there's a partner involved as well. But yeah, so for the call that I had earlier today, this was somebody who I talked to, the chief operations officer of the organization, like 2 weeks ago now. Followed up with her right after the call, didn't hear back, and then followed up earlier this week saying, hey, just curious if this is something we can take forward. And she connected me with one of the co-founders, and had a really, really good call. For them, they're a good example of somebody who had used a previous agency before that didn't do a good job. And so on the fly, like on the call, he's like, this is definitely something I think can help us, but I'd like to do kind of a performance-based pricing model, for which I replied, hey, our normal, and I was like, okay, so what's like the bare minimum that I actually like want to be guaranteed every month, right? And I'm like, all right, so 2,200 probably is, kind kind of the bare minimum where we're making a healthy margin. We can still outsource what we need to outsource and feel good about the project. So basically what I said was like, yeah, our normal rate is 3,500, but we discount it down to 2,200 with a 3 to 4% commission on any sales or any revenue that we bring in as a result of our services. So that gets us potentially back up to where we really want to be, which is like that 3,500. This is another 1,300 a month in margin for us. And he liked both of those. Like the 3,500, he said, seemed realistic, but he liked that we were willing to, kind of put our proof in the pudding, or get a little bit of skin in the game by offering that performance-based model, which is something we try not to do as often as possible. I mean, it's just like, it's tough to track, all that attribution, especially because they're not like an e-commerce company per se. But that being said, they could potentially be a great client. They're looking to move quickly. So right after this live stream, actually, my first to do is to put together our agreement, get that over to them along with a case study that we have, for a similar engagement that we did, and try and get that done by Wednesday of next week. And yeah, Sean just asked, what were the areas that the previous agency struggled with when providing them service? And what were the key focuses of their work? So basically, this was a lead gen campaign. These guys are a technical organization, and they wanted leads brought in that were like qualified B2B leads. And it really came down to them fundamentally not understanding their business. Like they were trying to do some retargeting stuff, but the problem was that the traffic that they were originally bringing to the site wasn't of the quality that would make like a retargeting campaign successful. They also had some like back-end email automation stuff. They basically tried to just stand up a funnel one time essentially, and didn't listen to any of the feedback that the client was providing them based on what could be done better in terms of the leads, which led to just a high volume of very low quality and expensive leads that never turned into revenue for the business. So for Derek and myself, we know the space that they work in well. We've had clients in the space before. Like we know what works well in terms of messaging. We know what works well in terms of like different touch points and stuff like that. So we have confidence, which is something that we, told them like, yeah, I have no problem putting some skin in the game on this because I know that we can deliver on it. And when you come to a conversation and you're talking to an owner and you say that, you're going to get their interest. So it was a great call. They're looking to move fast on it, which is great. Derek and I set some pretty lofty goals for the end of the year here that we're trying to hit. So, just kind of keeping the momentum up. The last couple of weeks, we've had deals pretty much every week. So we're excited about it, especially they have two this week. So Derek, maybe if you want to talk about this partnership opportunity that you brought in and how we kind of priced that to, again, kind of get them where we really want to be in terms of price, even though there's a partner involved.
Yeah. So Tuesday I chatted with the owner, and basically they own a restoration company. They do a lot of high-end landscaping, pool restoration. So all of their clients are basically anywhere between $5,000 to $10,000. They're doing pretty well. They're a family-owned operation, so not like a big enterprise corporation or anything like that. So I went through the client meeting guide on Tuesday, answered all the questions on the sheet, found out how they're marketing today, what went wrong, what's going well. Mainly they're just using word of mouth at this point. They have another agency that they're leveraging, and they were spending about $2,000 per month, not getting a lot of leads and traffic. I think they were doing like Google PPC. The leads that were coming in weren't very qualified. So talked through his goals and where he wants the business to be. So I discovered during our first conversation that based off of their current capacity, they could be doing anywhere between, I think 5 to 10 or 10 to 15 more clients per month. And each of them are worth about 5 to 10 grand. So I basically did the math with them right over the phone. I was like, cool. So you're saying 10 to 15 per month, 5 to 10 grand on the low end. That's basically $250,000 per year that you're missing. And then put that money in front of him, let him know that that's our goal and what we can map to. And then I talked about the holes in the game of the other agencies. So they were basically sending him leads that weren't qualified. So they weren't pre-qualifying them by asking questions on their landing page form or anything like that. So people were just looking for all these different types of projects that weren't in their wheelhouse at all. They didn't have the budget. So it wasn't valuable to him at all. So this is kind of like a kick out situation where we can come in, analyze what went wrong, and then put forth a better plan of action. So on Tuesday, I digested all that information, filled out the sheet. The guy seemed like he was sort of in a rush, so didn't want to pitch him the whole deal right there on the call. So I said, all right, awesome. I'm glad to get this information. I'm going to take this back to our team. We're going to do some competitive analysis, find out any holes or white space in the market compared to what you're doing today. And then I want to set up another call where we can go over a proposal. He was like, awesome, cool. I made sure I landed the time and date. So I said Thursday, which is yesterday at 4 p.m., we're going to go over this proposal. So I set that expectation. So if you're not going to close right then and there, for sure, close on the date and gain confirmation and agreement of what that date is. So we did that yesterday. I jumped on the phone and I basically built the proposal just like we talk about in the course. I listed out his goals. So you want to get more exposure. You want to get more leads. You're missing $250,000, 10 to 15 more clients each year. Their website was terrible. It looked like it hadn't been updated since 2004. So I put that in the goals too. And I said, instead of saying need a new website, I said, what were the exact words I used? Basically, the perceived reputation of your business needs to be matched online. So right now you have this old, outdated website that doesn't match the reputation of your trusted business that's professional, that's growing, that's doing great work. Right now you have this old website. So any of these young and coming businesses, even though they don't have your reputation, they don't have your experience, and they don't have like the case studies, the work, all that stuff, they're going to their perceived reputation is going to be higher than yours simply because your website is terrible. And all of the leads that we're sending to your business, like paying for on Google, pay-per-click, are directly correlated to how terrible your website is. So when you run PPC campaigns, Google looks at what landing page you're going on. So do the keywords of the ad match the keywords of the website? And is the website actually mobile friendly? So if you have a website on your phone, you turn it sideways, it responds. So it's mobile responsive, tablet responsive. He has none of that right now. So put that in the goals. And then I didn't say all that in the goals, but that was the next section, the missing pieces. So went over the website, the traffic, the conversions, and then put together a plan. So we basically positioned two packages. Package number one was a retainer of, I think it was like $2,000 minimum to run campaigns both on Google and Facebook. And then we had an option to basically set up, have an appointment setter call these leads and schedule them manually. So actually have somebody pick up the phone and set the appointment, because a big issue with this client was that they just didn't want to spend the time like setting the appointments. Like these leads were coming in from the other agency, name, contact, email, phone number, and they weren't calling them. And if they did call them, it was a week later and the deal was already lost. So we put forth a plan, an extra fee to have somebody actually physically call them and set that up. But basically we position that as an option they do not want to do. So we set up our lead management or our social campaign management retainer, a physical person to set the appointments, and a website. Option two was the same thing, lead generation on two platforms, no person actually setting up the appointments, all of that automated through your website. So when the person fills out the lead, they automatically get an email, they get a text message, they get a scheduler to set that up to automatically put on the business owner's calendar. And then that was a much higher package. So this one was about $3,000 all in, or no, $5,000 or something. And this package was around like $7,000 or $8,000. but I positioned it to where you're actually going to be saving money by not paying somebody every single month to set this up. Pay more on the front end. We'll automate the process. You're going to get to the leads faster. Your website's going to be better, and you're not going to have to pay someone every single month, like a secretary or somebody from my team, to go out and follow up with those leads. So he really liked the deal. It's a family-owned business, so he is the primary owner, but like his wife, his daughter, his son, all of them operate the business. So they had to have a group call. Wish they all could have been on that call, but they weren't. So we're going to find out a final decision either later today or Monday at the very latest. I gained agreement on a minimum deadline of Monday at 4 p.m. So we're going to go over those final results, and hopefully we can send them a $7,000 invoice here before Thanksgiving, which would be fantastic. I mean, between that deal and just the deal that Dave talked about, that's over 10 grand to the business with 2 phone calls. So it's big things can happen quickly. And as long as you just keep your pipeline going, keep conversations flowing. Both of these are pretty much slam dunk deals for us. We've got plenty of others in the pipeline, but these are like ones that are basically ready to close right now. We're just getting the paperwork together. So I'll keep you posted on that kind of stuff, but that's sort of how we positioned it. And that's typically our standard process. If you guys have gone through the course, gone through the content, that should all sound familiar to you, but hopefully it's helpful to see it in context in a real world scenario.
Yeah. And I mean, it's just a great example of like kind of ushering them towards the option that we really wanted them to go with, which gives us a much larger margin, and over time, like automates and makes it much easier for them to, kind of manage that relationship. And I think it's kind of timely, it's November 22nd, Thanksgiving's coming up. It's kind of a special time of year for Derek and myself, because it's basically our 3-year VTL, our agency anniversary.
Yep.
And for those of you that are just getting started, like I'm just going to tell a little bit of our story. We were on these live chats 3 years ago, looking and trying to figure out how to get those first, clients in. We signed our first client in December, 2 weeks after we started our agency. And this year our agency is actually able to send Derek, myself, and my fiance and Derek's girlfriend for 8 days to Jamaica, where we're going to be working and doing kind of like an off-site vacation / also like get some work done and just kind of disconnect a little bit from the day-to-day agency operations and client delivery stuff to kind of look at our strategy for 2020 and just like a lot of the goal setting and stuff that we have going on. So, I mean, a lot can change. Like when we left our jobs in July of 2017, we took like a 70% pay cut. We only had a couple clients. And we knew that if we just worked hard and if we took that risk, if we had that time to dedicate to VTL and our agency, we knew that we'd be successful. Even though the revenues didn't show it yet, we knew, like, we had proven to ourselves that we could get clients. We just needed more time when instead of being in sales for the companies we were working for to dedicate to our agency, and now it's 3 years later, and we're actually, taking this amazing trip because of the fruits of our labor that just wasn't an option, a couple of years ago.
Yeah, I'm pumped. Super excited. It's going to be so much fun.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome.
And surreal too, just because like you have some emotional connection to where the place that we're going as well.
Oh yeah. So funny story, guys. Just to digress a little bit, like I had gone to this exact resort. It's called the Grand Palladium Lady Hamilton Resort in this beautiful, like, little cove part of the northern part of Jamaica. And I was working a job. I thought I was, killing it. I was making more money than I ever thought I'd make ever in my life, especially because I had majored in English literature, and everybody told me I was going to be a barista or a teacher, which there's nothing wrong with that, but that wasn't the path I wanted. And had this amazing job, or so I thought, and went to Jamaica and had like the first, days off that I hadn't taken a vacation in forever. And, was just kind of floating at this resort, was completely off the grid, just kind of like minding my own business. And then had 8 days with my now fiance there. And I remember the last night, I was just like on the verge of tears. I was like, she's like, she's like, this is like the last night, you know, you're being weird. Like, what's wrong? And I was like, I just realized I hate my job. Like I just realized how deeply unhappy I am in this job. And like, I will do anything to get, I'll be a project manager. Like I'll, you know, take a job part-time, like just to like get out of this or whatever. And serendipitously, you know, or totally, you know, it was serendipitous. Derek and I cross paths like right after I get back, and we decide to, you know, go on this journey together and start a social media marketing agency. But like I look back on this place and I'm like, I feel like if I hadn't taken that trip, I just would have kept just like grinding away, getting, you know, flying all over the place, traveling all the time for work, just being completely burnt out. And I don't know if I ever would have like checked in with myself to be like, am I happy doing what I'm doing, or is there something else I should be doing with my life? So it's totally amazing to me. Like I remember like the emotions I was feeling then, and to go back to this place and to have had like 3 years of finding that answer and finding like the purpose that I'm actually supposed to have, you know, with my professional career, and like go back there. And I remember, like I told her, I was like, I don't care if we can never afford to come back to a place like this again. Like I just, I hate what I'm doing right now, you know? So yeah, and thanks, Sean. Appreciate that, guys. Derek and I are actually friends for a very long time. Like honestly, Sean King's brother introduced us, oddly enough, back in high school to play in bands together. And so we played in bands, and then went our separate ways for college, but then reconnected, made music together, you know, and then kind of got serious about our professional careers together. We became recruiters at the same place. And then we kind of went our separate ways for a couple of years when we actually were recruited out of being recruiters to go to different companies. And then we both like got into these different companies as sales guys. And, you know, we were, before we joined those companies, like we were good at what we did, but we just weren't making the income we wanted to make. Joined these companies, both of us just destroyed it, made a ton of money. But we never really like stopped to come up for air and be like, you know, is there something else that we should be, you know, doing? We were always kind of trying like little entrepreneurial things, but, you know, we'd get it started and then it wouldn't really make any money, and it definitely wasn't going to replace our income, right? And, you know, it wasn't until we signed that first SMMA client for almost $3,000 a month, like two weeks after we had the idea, and we're like, oh my gosh, like
30 G's right there in one phone call.
Yeah, you know, like, and it's funny because like I had signed Nike, right? Like I signed a deal with Nike, and the first deal I signed with Nike was 100K deal with Nike, which was a small project. Later, I closed like $3 million deal with Nike, but like that $100,000 deal that took me 9 months to get done with Nike made me the same amount, right? That deal with that person like took 2 weeks, all to me, you know, all to me and Derek.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm like, it took me 9 months to do this. Like somebody else took $97,000 of it, you know, or, you know, we got this $3,000 deal and it made the exact same amount. And this is going to be like a way easier client. Like it was just like this huge light bulb moment, you know, where we're like,
we're just
damn.
getting screwed. Like we're literally just getting screwed. Like we're making these other businesses literally millions of dollars, millions. And we were taking home, you know, we were making 6 figures. We're like, hell yeah, this is great. You know, we're mid-20s, crushing it, making 6 figures. That's awesome. But at the end of the day, at, you know, this time of year, December going into January, you start at the bottom, ground freaking zero. And you slowly chunk your way up for 12 months to get to that 6-figure pinnacle. And then boom, back to zero. You're completely expendable. They'll fire you at any point in time. And like he just referenced, you know, a deal with Nike, you know, deals with Wells Fargo, these massive, massive opportunities, making a good amount of money. But in comparison to just like the first deal that we put together, you know, $2,500 a month, $30,000 a year. You know, to put it into context, I had a deal that took me from January 2015 until January of 2016, basically an entire 12-month calendar year This deal was $7.2 million with a massive government agency that I closed for another business. And since my comp plan was like an entry-level employee, like I maxed out, like I was only supposed to make like 60 G's a year at this company, and just blew out this comp plan because I put together this multi-million-dollar deal. And I got like an extra 50 grand from that deal, which was amazing. It was like the biggest check I've ever seen in my life. But when I think about it, it's like, that's 2 clients, you know what I mean? Like, or that's like that's 2 to 3 clients right there that, I don't know. It's just like the amount of effort it took to make somebody else money and then take home a small chunk versus you building up and building equity in your life, in your business, in your dreams, like for yourself. Like there's always a quote that I think of, and I'll probably botch it, but like if you don't pursue your dream or work towards your dream, you'll be working for somebody else to make their dreams come true. So like, I just wanted to, David and I, it was perfect timing. And it's like, let's do this. Like, we're literally making other companies millions of dollars. Why can't we just do this for ourselves? Like, there's no reason why we can't.
Such a good point. Like, guys, like the day I got back from Jamaica, I'll never forget. Like, I walk into the office, and I'd been managing stuff like when I was gone. I got an agreement like into a late stage process with Intel while I was in Jamaica. It wasn't like I was like phoning it in. And I remember I get back, and that Monday morning that I'm back, the VP of marketing and the CEO corner me in the kitchen and start grilling me on like the status of all these deals. And I'll never forget this marketing woman was just the most frustrating person to deal with of all time. And I was traumatized leaving dealing with this person. But she's like, who takes a vacation in Q4? And I'm like,
me, I do.
I'm like, I have PTO. What do you mean? Like, and I'm like, I've been here for 3 years at this company, and like, I've barely taken any time off. The longest time off I'd taken was 4 days in a 12-month period prior to that, for like a trip. And I'll never forget being cornered. And I'm like, my time's not even mine. I can't even use like this PTO that I've earned, because I'm just going to get grilled because I took a vacation at the wrong time of year. But when you're in sales, it's always the wrong time of year. Like, you always have a quota. If you miss your quota, you're always going to get fired.
Unless day one you blow it out. Like,
yeah. Unless literally day one of the quarter you destroy it. And then a couple weeks later, they announced that the company is going to be acquired. And I just remember these people bought the company, and they started asking all these questions, like not even caring about like what happened with the deals, but like, oh, Microsoft, why didn't Dave close Microsoft? Well, they didn't like your product. Like, nothing I can do about that. But like, it didn't matter what I had done. They were going to fire me. Like, it was just that simple. There's no control, no nothing. They were going to bring in their team because they had bought and sold companies before. They literally had SEAL Team 6, they called it, sales team, that they were going to bring in. And it didn't matter what I had done. It didn't matter what Derek had done. At the end of his chapter at his company, that $7 million deal, they didn't look at that. It was like, what did you do this quarter? And that's why we were so motivated to build this company, even though we were doing well, we were making a bunch of money. Like, we just used that fuel, and we're like, we want to be in control of our own destiny. And like, that's a big part of the course for some of you guys that are like super young. You can avoid like that whole hardship and make way more money than we did, even doing that, in way less time. Like, it's totally possible. Like, the multiples and the opportunity that is in front of you in terms of the dinero that you can make doing SMMA, if you do a good job at it and you keep clients, is insane. You can completely own this thing. You have an opportunity to own an amazing business, and it's awesome. But we've kind of digressed here. Maybe we should answer some of these questions. So Joey asked, do you guys recommend using an autodialer software when cold calling or individually calling each lead? I actually, when I was at my previous company, we spent a lot of money on an autodialer called Connect and Sell. It was pretty cool. You'd basically give it like this list, and a call center in India would like place the dollars, and they'd connect you as soon as somebody picked up. So they'd call like 5 people at once. If somebody picked up, like you'd get connected. And it was just always like really ingenuine, like really kind of impersonable, like when you get patched on, or like when these autodialers didn't do their thing. Like I'd honestly recommend probably individually calling them just as many as you can.
Yeah. Well, it's just like we've all gotten that call before. Hello, pause, 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 pause. Hey, mister, you know, how are you doing? And then you're just like, no, bam. I like, even when I experience that gap of time before the response, I'm like, I'm out. Boom. Like I already know. Yeah. It's like they weren't specifically calling me. They're just using an auto dialer. And you instantly know it's a sales call and you check out. So yeah, I think if you're really trying to scale, it makes sense. It can work, but in the beginning, just hand-to-hand combat works, or, you know, hire somebody to make the calls for you and have them actually have a genuine conversation with someone. But yeah, it can work for sure. It's just not always the best.
Right now in the US too, there's like a robocalling epidemic happening.
It's insane.
So I mean, it's honestly, I get so many calls every single day now that it's time to like renew our health insurance and stuff like that. It's just like, and I know immediately, like I answer the phone, like Derek said, there's that pause, and I don't even wait anymore, just hang up. Like it's not my client. If they call me, somebody that actually needs to get a hold of me, they don't just kind of linger on the call for 5 seconds and then get connected, you know? So yeah, I'd recommend one by one. That's how Derek and I built our agency. It was just one by one cold calling until we got too busy to do so every single day. But I mean, that's just getting an insane number of dials is, you know, easily the best way for you to get where you want to go.
Yep. Totally. I think one of the questions, I think Roy said, how did we meet? We answered that just a little bit earlier. Sean King in the group, his brother actually introduced David and myself together. God, how long? 15 years ago? Yeah, 15, almost 16 years ago at this point.
Yep.
Yeah, we were just a couple young guns. I think we went snowboarding together. And then we have always just been creating things together. So like you said, we started off making music together, and have always been trying to, you know, we've worked sales jobs together. It's just been a kind of a cool, interesting friendship where we've always like pushed each other, made each other grow. So yeah, we've known each other for a long time.
Yep. 100%. So I was just reading Sean, trying to make sense of Sean's question here. So when considering the implementation of an automated scheduler for the initial email that is auto-generated for the lead, you find that in a B2C capacity, it creates a point of friction, or does it help the overall funneling of the inbound? This is assuming the rep from the company is on the pulse of the outreach for actually utilizing the qualified leads. So basically what you're asking is, like, for a B2B company, is an automated scheduler a point of friction?
It said B2C actually.
Right. Yeah. In B2C capacity. So if you're like a hairstylist or something, and you want to like book them directly on your calendar, it's a really good question, Sean. And it really depends on execution of it. Like there's nothing more impersonal than, you know, especially in the B2B space, when somebody says, yeah, like I'm open to meet or chat, and like you just send over a Calendly link. Like it's just really, that is a point of friction. But when you're running traffic, if the funnel is to bring somebody to like a page where they can take some sort of action, like book an appointment, that should ideally reduce the friction of them showing interest and then somebody having to follow up with them to schedule it.
Yeah. The biggest advantage for this is just that it's like there's a stat out there. It's like 75% of people that are looking for a service, when they're calling a service-based business, 75% of the time they're going to go with the first person they talk to. So yeah, ideally they reach out to you, they call a number locally to the business, and the owner answers or the sales rep answers, and they set it up from there. But if they're trying to scale their operation, they don't have a phone number for them to call all the time, or the owner's working, like this pool company that I mentioned. It makes sense for them to have a system in place that's going to instantly get back to them, send them a text, send them an email, give them a link to schedule the call. Just because what could happen is, say they fill out that information at 9:00 at night, business isn't open. And then they're sitting there just wondering, they have no idea. They send an automated email or something or not automated, but like the contact us page. They have no idea when they're going to get back to them. They're going to start shopping around. Say they do reach out to a business, and then boom, like a chat bot comes in, or they get an email where they can schedule a phone call. Now they're hooked in, they're indoctrinated into the system, and that lead is potentially lost. So it's really all about getting there first. Perfect scenario, they call the business answers the phone, it's a done deal. They usher them through the process. But things like that, early in the morning, afternoon, late at night, when somebody fills out that form, we want to make sure that person is taken care of and they feel like they've been responded to, even if it's just scheduling that call for the morning. I mean, they're probably going to understand that they're not going to get somebody live at 9:30 at night. So just knowing that they're going to have a call and gaining agreement on that next step and next time, hopefully gives them enough peace of mind to not reach out to another company or whatnot. Like, oh, I'm going to have this call, I'm going to see how it's going to go, and make that happen. Because 75% of the time, this was a stat that I used all the time, especially in the legal space, and I know it transfers to other spaces, but 75% of the time, people will go with the first business that they actually get on the phone. So we want to be on the phone. We want to be advertising. We want to be on Facebook. We want to be on Google. We want to be on the first page. Once we're on the first page, we want to capture their information. We want to get them into the system, get them into the store, get them on the phone right away, be first. Ricky Bobby, be first or be last, kind of like you want to be there right away or you're going to lose it.
Case in point with that too is like I recently, like 4 months ago, moved into this new apartment, right? And I hired movers, and I went to Google and I said, movers Minneapolis, and just filled out like 10 inquiries. I'm just going to get a bunch of quotes or whatever. And one person called me, right? Literally one person like actually followed up when they said they were going to follow up, called me. And who do you think I went with? Like the person who was, immediate. But most people aren't like just looking at their phone waiting for that lead to come in when they're owners, and they want an automated system. If any of the other movers had the availability for me to like book a Calendly for an appointment to talk about getting a quote, like I would have been like, yeah, absolutely, tomorrow, Wednesday, whatever. At least I know that I'm going to talk to somebody. Like most of them didn't even like reply to me. I got, hey, thanks for contacting us, and never heard back from them. You think I'm going to give them my business? Like, I need a quote. I need to know what it's going to cost. Like, I need to have a conversation with somebody, or I need to be able to like shop it and be like, okay, here's how many rooms I have, right? And like, here's the specifications. But like for this pool cleaner, it's probably going to depend on a bunch of different things. Like, how bad is the pool? Is it concrete? Is it this other material? Like, is it polyurethane lined? Like a bunch of different, so they can put together an exact quote. So in this case, it makes sense to like schedule that appointment. But like, if you can't have them call right away and get that meeting, at least having an appointment when that prospect knows that they're going to hear from the company and they're going to get the information that they are seeking by going to that site. So in those types of cases, it's really, not a point of friction. It's actually like a point of, hey, I know I'm going to talk to somebody live at this time, and it's a seamless experience for them.
Yep.
Love this question. Love this question. Roy just asked, what were your 1-year goals when you guys started out, and did you reach them?
Yeah, totally. I think our goals were, at least for me, it was like 2 things off the bat. Number one, it was just like how quickly can we make this profitable, to where we're not like burning money every month. And 2, the very first goal, I wanted to be able to pay both myself and David each $100,000 a year. That was like what we wanted, to start. each of us make 100 grand. We're good. We're paying our bills, living life, and going from there. And that was my goal in the first year. I don't know about you, David. I think we're on the same page.
Yeah. I mean, I think that there was like two different goals. Goal number one was like, all right, we just signed our first deal. It's $3,000 a month, light bulb moments, right? I'm traveling all the time. Derek is pounding the phones at his, job, wasting his life, seemingly. We just realized that like we want to get out of these situations. So the first goal that we had was to get ourselves out of that situation as fast as humanly possible. And we basically had like a savings goal that we wanted in our bank accounts to make it an easier transition and to reduce the risk, right, of making that transition. And then it was to do that as fast as we possibly could. So we basically said, all right, by the June-ish timeframe, we want to be in a position where we can like make a call as to what to do about this. And then the decision ended up being made mostly like for us. Like I said, my company got acquired. Like I knew that my time there was numbered, and it was like, we may as well leave now. Derek had some transitions at his job that put him in a very similar situation. And it just was like, hey, we honestly don't have as much as we wanted in savings, but the world is clearly pushing us towards this being the right thing to do. And it ended up being that. And then exactly like what Derek said, we quit our jobs. We had like $4,000 total, $5,000 total in like client revenue coming in every month, which isn't even, that's 30%, like less than 30% of between Derek and myself, what we were collectively making. So we basically said like $65,000, $70,000 is like the least amount of money that we can be making to not have us like, to be like, this is not a sustainable thing. Like we're not having a good time. We don't have money to do what we want to do. It's supposed to be a lifestyle business. We can't afford to travel. We can barely afford our rent and our expenses. But that $100,000 was something we looked at obsessively. Like we had a document in Google, like is shared in the course, that literally had the value for each account, how long the account was signed for. So if it was a monthly account, if the account was in good standing, we'd forecast it for the next month. If we were having some issues, if there was any risk of that account, for whatever reason, whether on our end or theirs, going away, we did not count it towards the next month. And we obsessively looked at it. I sent Derek screenshots of that pretty much every single day. Anytime that we have a good conversation, they went into a qualified prospect with a $0 amount in the actual earnings for what we were actually making, but we'd forecast like 70% of what we thought the account was potentially worth. So we basically had hey, this is our real money. Like this is our actual, like what we're making in the next 30 days and thus how much we can afford to pay ourselves. But here's our forecast. And, if we can get this forecast to be, 7 times what we want to be making, we know at the absolute worst, like the numbers will close 7 to like the sales is like every 7 opportunities you have, you can at least close one of them. Now we close 9 out of 10, because we're really good, and we're teaching you guys to be really good. But at the time, like that's how we forecasted it. And like we literally obsessively looked at that goal every single day. And a year after we quit our jobs and had a full-time thing, we had officially replaced the income that we were making at our previous job. But it was because we obsessively looked at it. We knew exactly, like we knew whether our business was healthy or not every single day. And that's why people screw it up. They get opportunities and they count them as a closed deal before they're closed. They get 3 clients, like a lot of people on YouTube, they get 3 clients and then all of a sudden they go to Bali and lose all their clients and their business disappears. And because they were in Bali or whatever, nothing wrong with going to Bali, but if you're gonna go to Bali, make sure you're still prospecting while you're in Bali, or have some systems in place for when you get back in case something goes wrong, your internet's bad, or something, So we looked at those numbers every single day, like obsessively. And I remember I'd tell Derek, like, dude, and the percentages, we literally had a percentage. We're like, okay, we're 60% of the way. We're 63.5% of the way. We're 62% of the way. Oh crap. Okay, we're 65.6% of the way. Like I was, if you look back at our conversation, like the images shared back and forth on iMessage, like it's just forecasting screenshots for months.
Yeah. And use that sales tracker. It's right in the course. Like that's
Yeah.
literally what we use, where it's just like, here's the money we're cashing in. Here's the money minus taxes. Here's the money split between us. And then boom, David's take home, Derek's take home, money that goes to the team. Like it's just all broken down right there. So we could see
Yep.
every single month, like, all right, we're good right now. It's June. Things are going great. But like August, September might not be awesome because, there could be some client slippage. We never know. People could cancel. So we're always like staying ahead of it
Yep.
and making sure that we're in a good position to win and live the lifestyle we want to live. So yeah, that was the first goal. Like minimum make 6 figures, be our own boss, not have to report to anybody. And we accomplished that. I mean, it was, I'm still so grateful that, we're able to run this business. Like this morning, went to a pretty happening coffee shop here in Minneapolis, where I get to just rub elbows with other business owners, entrepreneurs, people that are doing big things with crypto, investments, real estate. Like it's a whole hodgepodge of people. Like 8 a.m., it's a rush that comes through. You get to make connections, network. And yeah, like next week after Thanksgiving, we're going to Jamaica for 8 days. We're going to still run the business, make sure that our team has what they need. The systems are in place, but we're going to have a bomb time, and we're not going to have like the Sunday scary the entire time we're there, like David mentioned, where you feel guilty about having to take time off of your work. Like, how will it look to the boss? Like so many people, I've been there too. Dave has been there. Like you have PTO stacked up and you just never use it. That's why people have 300, 400, 500 hours of PTO stacked up by the end of their retirement or whatever. It's just like, because you're afraid to use it because you're afraid you'll look bad,
Yep.
like,
literally.
Yes, like technically you could take a month off and legally they can't do anything about it, but you're just afraid of how that's going to look with your reputation and what people are going to say. It's going
to come around in your performance review,
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, you used your PTO. That's unlike you. What's you're not happy here anymore? Like stuff like that. But
yeah,
Derek, you just made such a good point, man. Like our goal of 100K a year wasn't to make 100K a year. It wasn't to like take a bunch of cash and put it on the bed and like jump on it and be like, look at all this money. It was because what that money meant to us and what it could do for our lifestyle, right? It was being able to get back to Jamaica again and run our business from there. It was being able for you to go to Costa Rica for 18 days last February or this past February. It was like being able to take these trips. Like I went to Montana, was off the grid completely, had automated stuff, posting, doing all this stuff for the business while I was there. I had no connectivity. And I could do that because I didn't need to answer to my boss while I was there, and I could propose to her and like have that time, it's all about the why. It depends on like what that, if you love sick Nikes, and you want to have more cash to be able to buy more Nikes, sweet, make a goal for that. How much money do you need to make off this business to be able to do that? If you're trying to quit your 9 to 5, how much money do you need to be able to make to do that? And like write that number down. Like we had that number literally in our journal every single day. We use the Best Self Journal every single day. We'd write that down and we'd say, okay, what are we doing? And like, why do I want to do that?
Yep.
Why do I want to make 100K? Because I want to go back to Jamaica and I want to run my business from Jamaica. And I want to wake up and like check our ads, make sure the posts are going up, then have the rest of the day to do whatever I want, and know that there's systems sending out emails and like all this stuff, and have that flexibility and truly live like that laptop lifestyle. Like for me, it was all about the laptop lifestyle. Like as long as I could run business from my phone or computer, like I'd be happy, and those are the types of things you want to look at. It's not just about some arbitrary number, it's what does that number, mean to you, your lifestyle, your loved ones, the impact that you can have in the world. That number meant that Derek and I were able to invest in the infrastructure to make this course and help more people do what we did. Like ClickFunnels ain't cheap. It's not cheap for 2 entrepreneurs just to drop basically 4K a year on some software to maybe have some students come to the course one day, but because we had capital, we could do that, So figure out your why, what is that?
Yeah.
More time with friends, like more time with your parents, more time with family, being able to travel home for Thanksgiving and not worry about what your boss is going to think,
Yeah. And just like the peace of mind is big for me too. Just like I worked at a massive company, 7,000 people in one box is where I worked. That's like working at the airport almost. I mean, 7,000 people in this corporation, or not in the corporation, just in this one office. So it was
Yep.
just like so many people. And, when you have a bad day or you're stressed out or whatever, which we all inevitably do, I felt trapped. Like it was just, what am I going to do? I literally, it would take me 15 minutes to get from my car to my desk. Like that's up elevators, across a sea of cubes. It was insane. And, you have problems. Like it's just nice that I can go for a walk now. If I have a stressful call, which inevitably happens, we're in the service-based business. Like clients aren't always going to be happy. There's going to be friction. Employees aren't going to show up. They're going to, make excuses. You're going to have tough conversations, fire people. Like stuff happens, as an entrepreneur. And it's just nice to be able to like have control of your own life and not have to feel out of control and, be able to take the time, have self-care. Like both David and myself, like I feel like have 100% changed our health just based off of being an entrepreneur versus being an employee. Like as employees, we were just grinding. And then when it came time to stop grinding, we shut off completely. We'd have to, put Band-Aids on anxieties or, worries or stresses about work, where like now we can address those things. Like David's, very focused on his health. I'm very focused on my health. Like we both eat well, exercise, like take care of ourselves, both mentally, physically, our relationships. We have time to like spend time with our family, spend time with our loved ones. Like it's just a completely different shift in my life. And that's just something you can't even put a price on. Like those were goals that we didn't have. We didn't know we even needed those things. Like they weren't even a part of the equation, but they have been a consequence of what we've created and are in some ways worth more than the money that we're making. And now we value those things. Now we appreciate those things. We're aware of those things, where before it was a little bit, we were unconscious of what was happening. And now our goals are more of just like stacking money, investing. There's new opportunities. There's always like another level. Like you don't just get to one level and it's over. Like you want to keep pushing, scaling, growing, and building more impact, meaning. So all these things, like you hear people talk about, it sounds woo woo, it sounds whatever, but like once you're in a position to actually make it important and you feel those things, it makes a big difference in your life, which it wasn't even on the radar before.
Little things like not sitting in rush hour traffic ever. Right? Like I sit in rush hour traffic now and I'm just like, oh my gosh, how did I ever do this every day? Or like being able to go to the grocery store at 10 a.m. instead of at 5:30 when it's, packed to the gills with people. These tiny little things that all add up to just a higher quality of life that you don't even think about. Are really just things that now we take for granted. You know what I mean? So I got a hard stop at 2, so let's jump into some of these questions here.
All right.
Just because they're kind of stacking up and there's some good ones. So Johnny asked, how many clients can one person handle with a 9-to-5 job before having to expand and hire?
Yeah, and that's completely dependent on how much stress you can and responsibility you can handle. Basically, each person, if you're just going solo and you're really into it, I mean, you can potentially have like 10 clients each. But with your 9-to-5, that's going to suffer a little bit. So you just need to get to a point where either you're going to decide in your head that this is going to be something that's going to make you an extra 5 to 10 grand per month that you can use as a side hustle that's going to supplement what you're doing. Or you want to scale that up. You want to break through. It's a risk to quit your job, but it's also a risk to stay in your job, because at the end of the day, security is built off of having multiple revenue streams. And really your job is one revenue stream. So that job can go away and you have nothing. Whereas if you have a business, you have a service-based business, you have multiple revenue streams, even within the framework of the one business. So you have multiple clients. If one leaves, you still have 10 more, 20 more, 30 more, 40, so as you start to scale and get more clients, you're just building more security for your business. So a lot of people, they think that are working 9-to-5 jobs that it's so crazy, wild. It's a foreign concept to quit your job and do something on your own because it's so risky, because you don't have that guaranteed paycheck. It's not guaranteed. It's literally not. And your source of income is coming from one place. So that's more risky, honestly. Yeah. But you need to be self-aware. There's no one answer. That doesn't mean that you have to go out and quit your job. I see plenty of people, especially in this course, they have families, wives, kids, and they just want to make some extra money so they can put a down payment on a house. Keep doing what they're doing. They love their job, and that's totally cool too. So it's up to you.
Yeah. It also depends on like the burden of your job. I mean, so like mine and Derek's 9-to-5s weren't 9-to-5s. They were like 8-to-8s, like I was traveling all the time. So like there was a limit. I mean, it was like planes, like 2-3 days a week for me, so like there was a limit to how much capacity I had to like I was doing emails on airplane Wi-Fi half the time, and for our specific situation, it just didn't make sense. My little brother, he's an accountant. Like his hours are from 9:30 to 5 p.m. At 5 p.m., everybody in his office takes off, goes home, forgets about what they were doing until they come back at 9:30 the next business day. For a job like that, where you're done for the day when you're done, you're gonna have like that time from 5 p.m. to 10, 11, whatever it is for you to do client work and stuff like that. And you might even have a lunch break in there too, So it just kind of depends on your specific situation, and there's no straight answer to that. For Derek and myself, it was way less clients, but for somebody else, they could handle potentially, an entire another 9-to-5 worth of, just kind of depends.
Yeah. I had one that I can answer super fast too. Brian, he said, and I think a lot of people probably ask this too. What questions should I ask to find out if the client can afford my services? I don't want to be intrusive when it comes to asking about the revenue. So you can ask about the revenue straight up. You just want to do it at the right point of the conversation. Mm-hmm. But if for some reason you're sensing friction, you don't want to ask that question. An easy way is just to reverse engineer the money they're making. So what you can do is say it's a gym. Okay, each month, how many more gym members can you take on per month? Well, right now we can probably take on an extra 50 members. Awesome. Cool. How much is each member worth? Oh, it's $100. Okay. Multiply 50 by 100. That's your delta. An easy way to find out how much they're making right now is to say, okay, just curious, because our marketing efforts are always mapped to ROI, to that goal. But how far away are you from that today, members wise? Not talking revenue, members wise. Oh, we've got 200 members. Okay, so you just found out 50 times 100 is what they're missing. So now just take 100 times 200 members or whatever I just said. And then now you know their total business. In terms of the members, then you can say, are you making any other revenue? Are you doing clothing? Are you doing individual coaching? What other areas of the business are making money? And they'll start to tell you, oh, we do boot camps. Oh, is that a big revenue driver? And start piecing it together. And then you can get an understanding of, all right, this company is probably making somewhere between $1 million to $5 million, or $1 million to $1.5 million. Or if it's a really small gym, maybe it's like $500K to $750. Like you can get a window by asking questions that doesn't seem intrusive, because it's specific to mapping out your goals to a marketing campaign. So that's an easy answer.
Yeah. And if they really push back on it too, and you just like aren't totally sure, letting them know that like your minimum to run ads, is like $1,000 a month. Just kind of asking, like, is that like what you expected something like this to kind of start at? And if they're like, oh, $1,000, like, maybe not a fit, especially if they need a lot of other services. But also try not to judge a book by its cover. Like one of the biggest clients we ever signed had the most amateur looking website I've to this day seen. And I remember like I looked at it and I was just emailing a bunch of organizations in a specific niche. One of the first Saturdays, Derek and I kind of did biz dev stuff. And I was like, the email address is right there. I'm just going to send it. Clicked it, sent it, heard back 10 minutes later. Yep, we need help with social media. Can you come and meet? And Derek and I walk into this place like that next week.
Shocked.
And it's the biggest building I've ever, biggest like single tenant building I've ever seen in my life. And they're like, oh yeah, like, and we're like, oh, what do you do, for revenue every year? They're like, oh, like $70 million or something ridiculous, and they turned into like the first proposal we put in front of them was for $18,000 a month, so don't judge it before you have those conversations, because you never know too. Like maybe you walked into that gym and it looks like a small little shop, but that owner's got 9 other businesses, and he's a boss and he's got money just to like invest. And he knows that when he spends money, he makes more money and he'll pay you like way more than, somebody else that, you might think has money to pay for services. That's why the client meeting guide is super important.
Totally. Cool. Yeah, I think, do you got to head out here or still have time?
I've got like 10 minutes here. So let's burn through some of the remaining ones. Yeah, so Johnny, 3381 to be able to quit your job, dude, that's totally doable, man. Like you get one client that pays you that, that's definitely an attainable number for you to build a business like that while working a 9 to 5, and then double that in the first couple of weeks after you quit if you work hard. Would you say Facebook ads are a good way to find people that want to sell their home via realtors?
Yeah, it could be part of the strategy for sure. There used to be a lot more targeting around homes. Right now it's a little bit more censored, but Google pay-per-click, that could be an option for you. It just depends on the type of business that you're going after. So if it's very segmented, like they're only going after like certain things, then you can go after those long tail keywords, find out that person. But again, realtors, if they want to just go after the mass market, they're just going after that top of funnel kind of work. But really, in terms of advertising, we always like to start out with a bottom up approach. So yes, you can, like Chris Lindahl, you can fly a plane around the cities once a week with a banner flying behind it. That's the top of the top of the top of the funnel. It's very expensive, billboards, the TV, all that stuff. And then you've got your more niche further down the funnel. That's people who are completely unaware that they need a solution, just blasting it out there, making everybody aware about it. Then you start to get into like, I understand the solution, but I'm not sure who to work with. Those are the people that you can start to target on the lower ends of the funnel. So going after, like all the time, you'll see it. You go on apartment.com or you go on a realtor's website, bam, you start getting retargeted, cookied, you're put into a bundle, you're seeing their ads on other websites. So you really want to go after like action-based targeting if you're really trying to find buyers or sellers that are trying to sell their home right away. Google would be great for that. Facebook is going to be a little bit more top of funnel, but also you can leverage Facebook at the bottom of the funnel by retargeting. So if they land on their website, 100%, boom, they need to be seeing you again, scheduling a call because maybe they're thinking about selling their home. They search it in Google, bam, your client's website pops up. They click through. Now they're in the system. Now you're retargeting them on Facebook. So you want to be using like a full holistic strategy when it comes to that, I would say. And then also just having a web presence, having a social media presence. Nowadays, Instagram, if you're a realtor, that's good. You're on Instagram, you're sharing stories, you're putting out beautiful content, photos. It's a very aesthetic and happening kind of space that needs to be there to beat out the competition for sure.
Yep, 100%. Yeah, and great opportunity for retargeting. Just like if they check out a house, just retargeting them. Hey, remember this house? Remember this house? Remember this house? Is a good strategy. The first module, when we create our website, do you recommend a niche website or would oops, the heck, where'd it go? we're not sure what just happened, but Johnny asked about niche website versus broad digital media marketing. We definitely recommend starting broad and figuring out, same with like choosing a niche, trying a bunch of different companies, and then that way you can have a broad website. If you're grabbing coffee one morning and you hear the guy in line talking about his, dental practice, you can say, oh, I run a marketing agency, and then he doesn't go to your website and it's, chiropractormarketing.com, or fitnessmarketing.com, it can be, it's kind of a generic, and then that way you can approach a bunch of different niches, find out what you like, the types of businesses that you like to work with. And then if you decide to kind of niche down eventually, at that point, you can just spin up a new,
Yeah, and you want to start general too, just because, like I've said it over and over again, you start general and you'll start to find and see the patterns of what's costing you the most time and bringing you the least return, and you'll start to see the services that are giving you the most return with the least amount of time, and that's how you scale. But when you're first starting out, you have a very strong position to beat these other agencies that are bigger than you, because they've grown, they've scaled, they've realized the services that make the most money in the right niches, and they're trying to fit everybody into this box, where you're going to come in as a consultant. You're going to come in as somebody who's going to look at everything holistically and be able to offer a solution that's actually going to impact their business rather than what's going to make you the most money. So that's how you're going to get clients. That's how you're going to get testimonials. That's how you're going to build great, amazing results and relationships. And then you can use that to scale. So if you choose to work with a particular segment or service offering. So right out of the gate, brand new, 100% go general, and then niche down as you start to recognize these patterns of businesses, types of businesses, services that are going to make you the most money and cost you the least amount of time.
Yep.
But yeah, I think we should, I think we've been on here for a hot minute, and we're starting to get client Slack notifications and messages from the team. So yeah, we actually run a business, so we can't be on here all day.
But all right, guys, thanks for all the questions. I think we got everybody answered. For those of you guys looking at leaving your 9 to 5, taking this to a full-time thing, or just setting some goals around this, like take some time this weekend to really think about what those goals are. Use Saturday, like really just take a deep dive into, why you want this to be a successful business, and then post in the inner circle. Let us know why that is, how we can support you, and let's make it, an awesome week, so we all have something awesome to be thankful for.
Awesome.
If you're from the US.
See ya.